Good afternoon, everybody. We are conducting our How to Win webinar on the U.S. Space Force's Space Systems Command Hemisphere GWAC. Just a few administrative notes. This webinar is being recorded and the link to the recording will be sent to you within 24 hours. We will hold a Q&A session at the end, so feel free to send in your questions during the webinar using the chat feature to the right of your window, and we will address them at that time. Also, you could download this presentation by clicking on the File button selection on the right of the side of the panel of your window. So our webinar is going to cover a few items. We're going to explain Hemisphere to you. We're going to run through the proposal requirements. We're going to talk about the selection system, the win strategy, and then we will have Q&As. So let's get started. What is Hemisphere? It is a multi-award government-wide contract, a GWAC. Annual obligated values over $2.5 billion for 10 years. The portfolio value from FY22 to FY28 was a little bit about $13.6 billion. It utilized 82 industry and 59 government classified members. The contract vehicle is for space domain awareness, command and control, space ground and communications, and combat power. The programs do involve space domain awareness and combat power, battle management, command and control communications, so BMC3. Just some general information. The agency is the U.S. Air Force, U.S. Space Force. It is a multiple award GWAC. The name and the subject is the advisory and assistance services to include space domain awareness, combat power, battle management, command and control, and communications. The estimated value is $2.5 billion. The set-asides for this are full and open, unrestricted, partial small business set aside. The number of awards are expected to be 10, and the contract duration is 10 years. Also, the draft RFP was issued in July of 2023, and multiple revisions up to version 3 has already been done. The industry day was scheduled January 16th through the 17th. The release of the RFP is expected to be March 2024, with a 60-day turnaround after the issuance of the RFP. The award date is going to be June 2024, but usually these things always slip, so we'll see what happens. Just the general timeline on this, as we stated, the draft RFPs were issued in 2023, full RFP expected in 2024, with the award to be in 2024, and it will run until 2034. So what makes Hemisphere hot for agencies? Well, it does provide that streamlined ordering procedures. The government really is looking for industry feedback on what has worked well in the past efforts to incorporate into this GWAC. Customer service, the government is seeking gold standard. Customer service is the central focus of this Hemisphere staff. Competitive prices, product prices are consistently low due to contract structure and internal competition. Preference for small businesses. So small business subcontractor goals are 35% at the task order level, and task orders greater than 80 FTEs will be set aside for small businesses. Tracking and communication is important. Information flow to the government and industry throughout the acquisition and fulfillment processes. Supply chain risk management is also hot. Processes in place to reduce the risk and support of policy-based decisions. Let's run through the Hemisphere coverage real quick. So some of these areas of items of importance are key support. We're going to provide professional services to SDACP, BMC3, and their mission partners for classified and unclassified weapon systems lifecycle execution via this IDIQ. Subject matter expertise will provide highly technical acquisition and operational experts to support classified and unclassified efforts. Full program lifecycle support, which requires engineering and acquisition expertise throughout the lifecycle of any effort, which is concept exploration, risk reduction, prototyping, development, test, launch, fielding, operations, execution, sustainment, and disposal. Facilities operate and maintain a classified space as service. The SCIF and the SAF provide, operate, and maintain a digital engineering and collaboration space. Support beyond includes executive acquisition and administrative support, potential scaling to include additional mission partners such as the internal SSC organizations. Also, lifecycle acquisition and sustainment. So we're going to provide program acquisition efforts for advanced technology, future concept development and integration activities, draft JCIDS and acquisition documents, advisory and cost estimates, modeling, simulation and analysis, and architecture development are a part of this. Cybersecurity includes providing recommendations on cyber activities, cyber testing and assessment activities, document findings, and corrective actions in accordance with FISMA. Administrative and personnel management is going to include administrative assistance, office management, personnel management, human resources management, configuration, data management, multimedia, and editing support. Product support and logistics will include systems engineering, architectural development and decision-making, integrated logistics planning and execution, acquisition assistance, which includes contracting, financing, scheduling activities, data analysis, oversight, overall product support as required. As far as contracting goes, it's going to require advising on requests for proposals, technical evaluations, contract admin, and contract execution. Tests and operations will require advisory and assistance support on test documents, planning, events, requirements, data for developmental and operational testing, data signal collection, processing, storage, archiving, analysis, and lessons learned to support the test, operations, and future concept developments. Intelligence requires drafting intelligence requirements and staffing packages, providing advisement on intelligence reports, translating program requirements into intelligence needs and requirements, and recommend the COA to support mission-related activities. Launch will require advice and assisting with conceptual launch vehicle comparisons, selections, recommendations, and early integration support, as well as assisting with new requirements definitions, maintaining insights into launch activities, and recommending changes to existing mission requirements. Let's run through quickly the proposal requirements. So we have 4 volumes to submit under the Hemisphere GWAC. Your volume 1 is executive summary, which is going to require teaming, organization, and management. Volume 2 is technical. It's going to have technical risk. Of course, the TSSCI is mandatory. It requires staffing, QA, transition, and small business participation. Volume 3 is cost and price. There is a requirement for other than certified cost or pricing data. Completion of an attachment L3 pricing workbook, cost narrative for your direct labor rates, indirect rates, etc. Discussion of business systems for accounting system, estimating system, purchasing systems. Contract 4 requires its contract responsibility and documentation and requirement for various administrative documents and also the accounting system verification. So volume 1, we have our executive summary. We're going to do team and organization and a management structure. Now, subcontractors are permitted to support multiple primes, and the prime offers are permitted to submit separate proposals under which they would be a subcontractor or a team member to another prime. There is a master table of contents and a cross-reference matrix requirement, including a proposal validity statement that shows that your offer will be good for 100 calendar days from this proposal due date. Volume 2 technical has factor 1 and factor 2. Factor 1 technical risk is with 4 sub-factors. The first one is security gate. Then we have a staffing gate, quality assurance, and transition and startup plan. Evaluation factor 2 is your small business participation and commitment document. So the security gate really requires your evidence of your TSSCI or SAP verification. You need to provide information on your security office, your FSO, staff structure and processes, discussions on how your security office is going to support the Hemisphere effort by citing specific action plans and processes that you're going to put in place. Procedures for obtaining personnel clearances and how you're going to maintain those personnel with clearances. Processes for safeguarding classified material, evidence of a SCIF is going to be required. And they want you to show relevant past performance that substantiates your capability to manage a contract with personnel clearance requirements at the TSSCI or SAP levels within the past 3 years. And for this, they do want you to provide the scope of your contract that you're citing, the contract number, number of FTEs, the name of the agency, contract number, and the current government point of contact, as the government may contact your customer for evaluation purposes. They also do want you to document or provide evidence of a satisfactory company security performance by providing a copy of a security review and the results from this oversight inspection that was received from DCSA or any cognizant security authority. Subfactor 2 staffing gate is your recruitment retention plan, including training. There is an attachment L1 that does need to be completed, and it's out. There's 15 positions listed, but you are required to provide information up to 10 of those. The personnel names that are listed in the matrix must be currently on staff or must be a subcontractor partner staff. But they have strict rules on that as well, where you should be working with that subcontractor on existing contracts where you could use their name. It cannot be a contract that expired in the past. They also do want you to provide an employee roster corresponding to the 10 names that you are going to complete in attachment L1. Subfactor 3, quality assurance. Definitely you're going to go to the PWS sections 5.9.2 and attachment L2. Make sure this section completely follows those requirements in the PWS and the attachment to quality assurance plan checklist. You're going to also need to put in the roles and responsibilities. You're going to show your documented processes and procedures, everything on how you do nonconformance, objectives, performance requirements summary, surveillance methods, and so forth. And they also do want you to provide a narrative discussion on how you will work collaboratively with fellow support contractors from various companies. The next section is your transition and startup, which is subfactor 4. We're going to assume that all positions require access to both the Los Angeles Air Force Base in El Segundo and the Aerospace Corporation in El Segundo as well. Both locations do require a Space Systems Command badge to gain access. A full narrative on your transition and startup plan is going to be required on how you're going to staff up to 50 FTEs with clearances within the 60 days of contract award. Do refer to the PWS section specifically and make sure you're weaving in all of the transition requirements in that section into your narrative. The government wants you to give them the transition schedule of 30% of the positions to be hired and available to support on day one, 75% of those positions available, hired and available within 30 days, and full 100% coverage within 60 days, all positions hired with clearances ready to support the contract. This is a very important factor that you have to really demonstrate how you're going to do that. Other detailed approaches are going to be obtaining the security clearances, obtaining the badges and the building accesses, knowledge transfer from incumbent workforce, significant accomplishments and accomplishment criteria, risk mitigation plans, and other associated completion dates are required as a part of your transition. Another example of references here is going to be, you must provide examples of past transitions you've completed in the past 10 years. Just like the security, you need to provide your scope of the contract, number of FTEs, name of the agency, contract number, current government POC, so the government may reach out to your customer to verify this experience. The others are how you're going to identify any work processes and legacy tools that are needed to be transitioned in this section. For the small business participation, the government's goal is 35% small businesses at the task order level. Even though you're a small business, you are still required to provide a narrative that shows how you're going to meet that participation of the 32%, including the type of work, description of products and services that's going to be provided by small businesses. Moving on to volume 3, cost and price. Here we have an attachment L3 that needs to be completed, your cost for the labor categories. There's a narrative discussion, quite a bit of information they want as a part of your narrative. Direct labor rates discussions, the overhead discussions, your G&A, so any supporting documentation that you might have from the government, anything that could be DCA approved provisional rates or forward pricing rate agreements, those are all required. If not, you do need to provide full narrative discussions within the past 3 years, how you've calculated all that. The government does also want you to provide your fixed fee rate discussion, and they did specify that your fee shall not exceed 10% as your pricing. Keep mindful of that. Section 7 is the discussion of the business systems, accounting systems, estimated and purchasing. And if you do not have any of these approved systems, you do need to write a full plan as detailing what does your accounting system do, what is your estimating system processes and procedures, and your purchasing system. The government did in the attachment 3 for those companies who wanna kind of understand how to develop their WRAP rates. So the government provided examples based on the SOC location and seniority. So the government states that you can use the attachment L3 in the development, your proposed WRAP rates and the total proposed price. And also keep in mind that if you do have cost reimbursement contracts, you can only use task orders or bid or win on task orders when your accounting system has been deemed adequate and has received approval from the government. Volume 4, contract responsibility and documentation. So this is going to be, your standard Form 33, your financial resources, accounting system. Now they want a professional compensation plan, a full narrative on organizational conflict of interest, how you're going to mitigate it. There is a small business subcontracting plan, as well as Section K reps and certs needs to go into this volume. So again, standard forms, amendments will be signed. There is an attachment L2 for financial resources, the 1407 pre-award survey that does need to be completed. I would encourage you to get started on that. That can take a little bit to complete. It could take time. Accounting system, you do need to provide, if you have it, a DCA or a DCMA approved accounting system. If you do not have it, you have to submit documentation with your approval. So there is a 1408 that does need to be completed and submitted, but you also do, like we talked about, volume 4, talk about how your system can segregate costs and things like that. The professional compensation plan has to follow the FAR 52222-46. Organizational conflict of interest is to provide a full narrative on how you do your OCI analysis. Do you have any perceived OCI? If not, how are you going to mitigate it? So they do want a pretty detailed plan here. Small business subcontracting plan, again, is kind of to show your 35% with small businesses and things like that. And it is in accordance with FAR 522199. Section K, reps and certs, you do need to complete this from the statement of, the actual RFP documents and complete it. And also your SAM, reps and certs and DFARs are required to be submitted with your volume 4. For the selection process. So it's very important that your staffing plan identifies the resources, and those staff must be on staff or teammate staff on payroll and meets all criteria. Your quality assurance is very important, and it addresses everything they've asked for, not only in the PWS, but in the L2 attachment that we just talked about. Your transition, smooth transition. How are you going to transition up to 50 people with no loss of productivity, no mission disturbance, and maintaining everybody's clearances? This is a top area that you must discuss. Also, appropriate mechanism in place to facilitate hiring, retention. You must provide your good staffing plan for that. And also that you assure the participation of at least 35% small businesses in task orders. How to get selected? As we talked about the gate reviews. So TSS SCI is very important. You must demonstrate and you have evidence of a top secret SCI clearance or at the SAP level. You must showcase and name those resources already on payroll. Mandatory relevant experiences we talked about in both clearance and transition. You must show examples of cleared contracts, and also contracts you've transitioned in the past with examples. You must receive an acceptable in factor 1, in fact green, in security gate criteria and staffing gate criteria, and outstanding in quality assurance plan and the transition startup plan. The win strategies, in content. So in essence, really none. Either you have it or you don't. So you must consider these points when you're looking into the Hemisphere contract right now. You can pass the barrier of security clearances. You either have it or you must have already applied, where you can prove that it is in process with a printout that you can print from the system to show that. Name personnel, staffing matrix, very important. Your personnel must be on your payroll or your partner's payroll. But again, that partner must be an existing subcontractor that you are working on. You can use the subcontractors for their experience in the areas that you might be lacking. And again, we talked about having those 2-3 projects in the last 3 years with cleared personnel onboarded as examples. And in the technical volume, where your writing skills might be needed to showcase your capabilities properly, start preparing that volume and other volumes too, because as we mentioned, the other volumes also have a lot of processes that it requires. You do want to get started in preparing all of these before this RFP drops. So if you have informed, basically, you've got the requirements and the main thread is not preparing your proposal in the required format and in compliance with the requirements. A compliance review is of utmost importance. You must pay attention to details in form and format, as well as course in content. The go, no go. Do an initial go, no go to ensure that your energy, time, and resources are not spent on something that is not a viable opportunity for you. Volume 2 depends on your writing skills and how well you can showcase yourselves. Volumes 1, 3, and 4 are based on concrete facts, so you either have it or you don't. So about GDIC and how we can help. So our company has been around for more than a decade. We have solid performance. We've got rocket growth. We have over an 82% win rate on RFPs. And with our experience, we've got 50 or more proposal managers with more than 20 years experience supporting various agencies, various industries. In 2022, we've had 162 wins with multi-million dollars of proposals, and in fact, 13.6 billion are the proposals that we have supported winning for our customers. The services we provide, we do a free consultation. We do full proposal development. We've got a dedicated proposal team. We can provide support for all volumes from cradle to grave. We can support you with full multiple reviews. Other services, we can just do review. If you are comfortable in writing your proposal, but you need some sort of a compliance check, you want to make sure you've hit all the right buttons, we can certainly cover you and do a full proposal review and also support you on strategy consultation. Just run through our BD services one more time. So again, we talked about proposal development. We can do eligibility score assessment, full proposal development, reviews, and staff augmentation. We also support our customers in capture. We've got a dedicated capture management team, sourcing and qualifications. We can support you on all of that. Forecasting is also a part of our capture support. We also do support services such as competitive intelligence. We can do black hat exercises. We can do price to win. And our training, we can provide training to your team on developing proposals and capture management. Our contact information, anytime you need any support on any of our services, please do contact Maroon Freedy, who is the Vice President at GDIC. His email is right on the screen, as well as his telephone number. Again, you do have access to this webinar and these slides under the file button, so feel free to pull it down so you've got the information to contact Maroon. So now with that, let's go do some Q&As. All right, we are now at our Q&A sessions. We have received some questions that we're going to answer, but again, use your feature, the chat feature, and add and post your questions. After the session, we will respond to all of your questions that we could not get to, and we will send you the responses. With that, all right, our first question, is it mandatory that we have a DCAA approved accounting system? Well, the answer is no. If you do not have a DCAA approval letter, then what you're going to require to do is complete the Section 2 of the SF 1408 pre-award survey. That gets submitted with your response. And of course, should you be successful after a contract award, they're going to use that to get your DCAA approval process going, because you do need to have a DCAA approved accounting system in order to bid for cost plus contracts. Next question, if we do not have a forward pricing rate agreement or a recommendation, what other documentation can we provide to justify the rates? Basically what the government is saying in their Section L&M evaluation is that you are not to bid any direct rates that are lower than the Bureau of Labor Statistics rates that's identified in the rate floor by location worksheet in attachment L3. So you do have to use that, look at those rates, and they are recommending that you do not bid anything lower than that. The next question is, if we don't have the DCAA approved provisional indirect rates, are there any other documentation we can provide? Basically, in your Section L, what the government's asking for is to provide substantiation, data that substantiates your actual cost for the last 3 years. It needs to support all of the calculations that were used to derive the rates for pricing the proposal. So you need to basically do printouts out of your accounting system that shows all of your indirect G&A, fringe, overhead, whatever indirect rates that you have. What are those pools comprised of? Basically, we'll have to do an entire narrative discussion that justifies why you're using these rates in your cost buildup. And then my last question is, How many security review results do we need? Basically, the government's evaluation factor recommends that you have 2. Typically, a company might have 3 in the past 3 years. That's performed by DCSA. If you've got the 3, provide the 3. And those would be very good in justifying and also, be going above and beyond what they've asked for. Those are the only questions we have. Like I suggested, please, we will get back to you with any of your other questions that you might have after the webinar. And also feel free to download the webinar also. It is available to you. With that, this concludes our webinar. Thank you so much for joining GDI Consultants webinar for Hemisphere. When you have any questions, if you would like to have additional information, please feel free to contact Marone. His information is at the end of the webinar slides, and we would be happy to support you. Thank you so much, and we look forward to working with you.